let's try this one more time. You know, whenever you do these things, sometimes it doesn't work the way you plan. And hence, sometimes the broadcast doesn't sort of come out the way it's supposed to come out. So what I need for you guys to do right now is to tell me if I'm loud and clear so that we can get the show on the road. We only have but a few minutes before the news to sort of go ahead and throw and put this point across so that we're on the same page. Earlier today, I saw a video clip of chishimba kambwili, and many of you know who he is. Mr. Chishimba Kambwili is a PF presidential aspirant. He's one of these guys that have thrown their name in the hat. They want to put their name forward for consideration within the party. And you know, the PF, the NPF, I affectionately refer to them as the NPF only because they live up to the name of that character. But guys, hear me out. Whenever I say NPF, there's not one fiber, there's not one iota, there is not one smidgen, there is not one molecule of malice. When I say that, there's not one tiny speck of disparaging spirit when I say that. I truly mean it when I say the notorious Patriotic Front, because they're very notorious. And he's put his name forward, and the notorious Patriotic Front, they have postponed the upcoming convention so many times that I'll be very frank with you, I've actually lost track of when they're going to do and carry out their convention. I've actually lost interest. I'm okay with just waking up one morning and them telling us, okay, bane, tulikukawe file chitika tuara live, tuli convention tuara salaromba. I'm fine with that. But for you to consistently tell us, no, we've postponed it to this date. No, we're looking for this, that, and the other. We're trying to mobilize money. That's a bunch of bull roar, and you know it, okay? Don't mess around with the people that support you. You owe it to them to be forthright and honest with them. Anyway, Chishimba Kambwili is one of the candidates. There are 9 candidates as far as I know. There are 9. Miles Asampa was the very first one that threw his name in the hat, you know, for consideration. And there are many. There's GBM, there's Emmanuel Mwamba. There's so many I lost track, but the notable ones are the ones I've mentioned. Kambwili is one of them. Well, earlier today, he comes out of the courthouse with both guns blazing. I mean, I don't know what happened in the courtroom. I have no idea what case he's facing in the courtroom. He came out furious. He was upset. He was angry. He was mad. He was livid. He comes out of that courtroom and then he starts talking about 3 main points. And I'm going to go through them very, very, very quickly. First of all, he says he bemoans the cost of mealie meal. And everybody agrees the cost of mealie meal is quite high. Okay, and it doesn't matter where you are, whether it's here in Lusaka, if you go to the malls, you're spending close to 230, in some places 250 kwacha per 25 bags of mealie meal. When you go to the Copper Belt, it's slightly higher than that. I echo what the administration has said about this issue. They are doing everything within their power to ameliorate, to reduce, to bring down the cost of mealie meal. And for you, Kambwili, or for anybody else to sit back and say, well, this government is not doing anything about it, I think is being disingenuous. They have made it abundantly clear that this issue, they're grabbing it by the horns. They're grabbing this issue by the horns, and they are going to wrestle it to the ground until the price of mealie meal comes down. And of course, there are many factors that play into the high cost of mealie meal. And this administration is fully aware of those. And they have communicated to us, to you and I, to the electorate, that they have it under control. They're dealing with it. They're going to deal with it aggressively. That's the communique that has come out. For you to sit back and say they're doing nothing is being dishonest. It's being disingenuous. Number two, Kambwili talked about, he said, move to State House. And he seemed very angry. He was livid. He was upset. He was angry, boy. He was totally beside himself. He said, move to State House. And then he starts talking about how, and I found this amusing. He starts talking about how because of HH's motorcade, because of his presidential motorcade from Community House to State House, Kambwili seems to have it in his mind that children are missing their classes, they're late for school, parents are late for work, people are being fired possibly because they're stuck in traffic. Kambwili, newsflash, have you taken time to look at Lusaka's traffic? Trust me, the president has nothing to do with the traffic. Traffic has been there for eons. It'll be there after this administration, and it'll be there long after he's long gone. So for you to sit there and blame the current traffic situation on the president, I think it's a bit ambitious on your side, and it's very, very, very disingenuous, to say the very least, blaming the president for the motorcade and traffic. That's crazy. That's like, turning a tap on and saying, well, the water's coming out too fast. Okay? That's ridiculous. That's a very lame and weak argument. Okay? So that's number two. Number three, Kambwili says, declare your assets. Okay, declare your assets. And then he says, this is a statement that I find very strange. He seems to think that HH at some point during the campaign boasted about his accumulated wealth. There has never been one time that I can think of, not one single solitary time that I can think of HH ever boasting about his financial status. Not once. In more than 17, 18, 19 years of going on the campaign trail, of doing everything within his power to convince the electorate to give him and his administration a chance to lead and serve. Not one time has HH ever said, I'm rich, boasting about my wealth. Kambwili seems to insinuate that HH seems to boast about his wealth. Never one single time. It's never happened. But today, Kambwili says, tell us how much you are worth. HH has never said that, ever. It's you that have that have tried to smear that tag on him. It's you that tried throughout the whole campaign trail. Many of you, including chishimba Kambwili, would always say, where did all this wealth come from? How did he accumulate all this wealth? And he kept on telling you that his business acumen was on point. He kept on telling you that he's a businessman. He kept on telling you that he's made investments. You would not accept that. And yet here it is today. Kambwili is going to stand on the highest hill and talk about how, no, he's never boasted to you, me, or anybody else about his financial status. In fact, if anything, in my view, HH has been quite conservative, very conservative about his wealth. I mean, the man is a self-made wealthy man. And his financial status has never been an issue on the campaign trail. He has never brought it up. He's never used it as a crutch. He's never used it as a weapon. He's never used it as a point of advantage. It's you guys that tried to smear that on him by labeling him someone that had gotten ill-gotten gain or ill-gotten wealth. You guys said that. He's never, not once. So, of course, I don't speak for the president. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you my 2 cents worth. This is my opinion. The president will do it when he's good and ready. I would imagine that the president will declare when he's good and ready, whenever that's going to be. The president will move to State House when he's good and ready. You guys are trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. Now, here's the thing. Kambwili said, and I want to, he said this. He said on the issue of assets, he said, it's either, HH has no money or he wants to steal. Now, this comes from a man during the PF, during the height of the PF. It's a known fact. And guys, I'm not saying this maliciously. I love Kambwili. I do. Him and I, we get along. I disagree with his politics. I disagree with his rants. But this coming from a man, when a man says it is either HH has no money or he wants to steal. This coming from a man that during the reign of the NPF, Kambwili, it's a known fact. Kambwili used to close everybody else's is way into trying to supply the mines. He was the one that was elbowing his way and making sure that he got all the big contracts. He was elbowing his way through the crowd and saying, that contract belongs to me, that contract there belongs to me, give me that contract. If you don't give me this contract, you're going to get fired. Everybody knows that to be true. And that's an open fact. And today, Kambwili is going to stand up and say, declare your assets. It is either you have no money or you want to steal. Consider the source. That's all I'm going to say about that. Consider the source. All right. It's 3 minutes after the news. You think Kambwili will sue me for that? You think he'll sue me? Well, get in line. That line stretches all the way to the end of the corner there. Go listen to the news. Love you guys. Bye.